I'm RJ.
And I'm Paige.
And welcome to A Movie and a Haunt, where we discuss your favorite horror movies and create a haunted house for you to experience. I would also like to welcome you to the season of slashers. From now until October of next year, we're going to be discussing some of the great and not so great slashers of history. And we are starting with 1980's Friday the 13th, directed by Sean S. Cunningham.
What?
But before we get into the movie, let's discuss the original theatrical trailer. Paige, what was your take with that very unconventional trailer?
Unconventional, that's one way to put it. I felt like
How did you like the countdown?
Yeah, I felt like I was with Count Dracula, or Count Dracula, whatever his name is in Sesame Street, learning to count with Jason.
I also just noticed, as a person who's like seen the movie and like saw the trailer, it kind of gives away like a lot of the deaths.
Literally, I think almost every single one of them. I mean, they kind of like they kind of psych you out with a couple of them, but yeah, they give away basically the entire movie.
I think the only ones they don't cover are the ones that are off-screen deaths.
Yeah, I mean, they don't show any of the bodies, so you don't.
They show Brenda's body coming through a window,
but that's like the least gruesome body, showing.
They show it before she hits the floor and it gets gruesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was like, what, 2 minutes for the trailer or so?
Well, yeah, it takes a long time to count to 13.
Apparently. But it felt like 5. I was like, okay, is this trailer over? I was like, oh, wait, but we're still counting. We're only on number 4.
I like how the marketing for everything with this was, it's Friday the 13th. And it is literally shown, like, the only time the movie acknowledges it's Friday the 13th is in a little, like, word art for 5 seconds in the movie just saying it's June 13th.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's in the summer because it's summer camp and the start of summer, but other than that, I'm like, okay, I guess it's the 13th. There's, I don't know.
And it's Friday?
Yeah, sure.
Hooray?
The trailer's weak. If I saw this back in I'm guessing either early
79.
Yeah, 1979
or 80.
Exactly.
Early.
If I saw it back then, I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll see it. But it might be different. Like for us seeing it now in modern times, it might be a different experience. If seeing it back then, you might catch more interest. But I don't know.
But you also have to remember, I think you're 100% right on this, because slashers at the time, it was what? Black Friday and Halloween? This was the third time we were really, like, the third big time we were going to get something like that.
You mean Black Christmas, not Black Friday?
No, sorry, Black Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a month ahead of time of the horror movie that will be Black Friday.
Yeah.
But, you only had Black Christmas and Halloween. Mm-hmm. It's new. And, you don't know how to market a slasher quite yet.
It's almost uncharted territory at this point. They're trying to put their feelers out to see how they market it, for sure.
Like, this could have been like that thing where, like, PlayStation did a weird baby commercial where it was like, the baby dolls.
Oh, God.
Like,
that hit me like a freight train
sell
with
a
memories.
console?
Jesus Christ.
Does that sell consoles? I don't know. Does this sell a movie? I don't know.
Sure. It sells an idea. But
it sells the whole Friday the 13th scary, bad stuff happens on Friday the 13th.
Come watch this film. That's pretty much it.
That's all they had to work with, for the reason being, this movie doesn't have a plot.
Yeah, no. But we'll get into that when we discuss some of the pre-production of the film, for sure. There's some interesting tidbits.
And the production.
Yes, in general.
And the entire movie.
But, yeah.
So, let's get on with the movie.
Let's get to it.
All right, so we start in 1958, where some camp counselors are having a nice little sing-along. And
my Lord.
I don't know what they were singing, but they were singing something.
It's so wholesome.
Oh, it was. And then we get to the Foxy Cabin, I believe that's what it was called, where some unattended children are the victim to a very shaky POV shot.
Wait, are you calling it the Foxy Cabin, or...
I think it's named the Foxy Cabin.
That's hilarious. Okay.
That POV shot, I was watching it on a small screen, and I was like, oh, God, make it stop.
Oh, same. As someone who has terrible motion sickness, I was like, oh, here we go. We're not even 5 minutes in. Here we go.
We get, after this POV is just done eyeing all these children, we get back to the two camp counselors. We get back to the counselors, and two of them are just giving each other sex eyes.
Oh, yeah.
They are ready.
You could feel that tension in the air.
They leave the sing-along, which I don't get because the guitar player left the sing-along to go to the attic of a tool shed,
I think it was
guessing?
I don't know, it gave me like farm vibes, like of a barn. But
I thought so too, but I was like, but do camps have, like, do those types of camps have barns in them?
No, that doesn't make sense.
And then we are a victim to some of the most depressing sexy talk I have ever heard.
It was bad.
But you're not like most girls. Like, you said that to this girl. It's like, oh my God. Is this what game was in the 50s? Is this what, like...
The acting is so bad. Like, they just read their script 5 minutes before they started shooting, and they're like, okay, we need to read this deadpan.
I think the worst acting is about to come.
Oh,
we get
yeah.
Our motion-sickening POV shot comes back and is going up these stairs and watches these children not children, they're teens.
I do have to say,
begin having sex.
I don't
with their clothes on.
I don't like the POV because of like the motion that goes on, but I can appreciate like the handheld cam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really immerses you into the film.
I get that. And I do like the thing of I don't see the killer, so it's not the mystery.
Same.
The camp counselors stop having sex, and the guy is just with the worst acting, but also the best acting to ever exist. It's just like, we were just having some fun.
And he like pops up immediately. Like he's like on his feet in like 2 seconds.
That guy's, his pants were not anywhere off for how quickly he got up. He gets stabbed in the gut, dies very quickly.
Yeah.
What happens next, I don't get. The girl decides that this POV, whoever this POV is an alligator, and runs in zigzags in the same spot. It's not like she's like traveling in zigzags. She is only running in zigzags back and forth in one spot. And then is shocked as we get the freeze frame of her dying and cueing, title card.
I do have to say, I did point out the stabbing music. To me, it sounded like a mix between Psycho's iconic sound and Jaws. I don't know if that was on purpose, but there's some parallels there with quote-unquote, spoiler alert, mommy issues with Psycho and with Jaws, like a predator stalking its prey. So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but kind of cool.
I would be a little shocked if that... Actually, I wouldn't be shocked if that was intentional because I don't think the composers were under the same rule as the writer, which was told the following words... Halloween is making a lot of money. Let's rip it off. Told by Sean S. Cunningham.
They sure did. If there was a description for this movie, that would be it.
I mean, it didn't even have a name. Like, the original working title that was made by the scriptwriter was Long Night at Camp Blood, which you can see they call Camp Crystal Lake Camp Blood a whole lot in that movie.
I mean, this just goes along with it. Just... They had no preparation whatsoever to do this film. They were like, Halloween's making a ton of money. I want to make money too.
We need some of it. Yes. Just a little bit of it.
Just a tad, yeah.
It even goes down to the beginning kill that, like, Halloween even does. Mm-hmm. After that, we get some very beautiful word art title cards.
Can you explain to me what the crashing glass has to do with anything? Because I didn't get it.
Maybe it's homage to Brenda breaking through the window
Like,
at the end of the movie.
Literally the end of the movie. Okay. All right.
I genuinely don't know. I think this is the only time they actually ever do the broken glass thing.
Okay.
If it isn't, it's going to stop after 3.
Okay. All right.
We then jump forward to present time, where camp counselor Annie stops to pet a dog and ask it for directions.
Yes, as one does.
And she stops at a local diner, coffee shop, convenience store. I don't know what the fuck
Felt
that
like
store
a
was.
diner, but can we talk about the small town vibes? Like how cute that was?
I mean, you know that town does exist. Like, you can go to that town.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's Hardwick, New Jersey, and
Yeah.
Camp. What is it? Camp Blood, where all this happens, is actually called Camp Nobinosko. It's home. It's
Nice to butcher that one, hopefully.
No. That's how it's spelt.
I mean pronunciation.
Oh, probably. But it's home to the Boy Scouts since 1927. They do, fun fact, they do occasional tours and overnight stays for fans of the movie series. And all the money that they get from that goes to funding the kids programs with the Boy Scouts.
I just can't get over that. It's a Boy Scout play.
I mean,
it's a Boy Scout camp that films where multiple people have died.
Right.
In a movie.
Yeah.
She stops at the coffee shop to ask for some directions, and this old sus truck driver is like, "I'll drive you."
The 70s.
The 70s.
So innocent, so pure.
We then get to them just walking to the truck.
Yeah.
And then we get the introduction of the best character of this entire movie. The messenger from God himself, Ralph.
Oh, Ralphie boy.
Oh, it's a death curse, baby. It's a death curse, and I love him so much. I don't want to know what this movie would be like without Ralph in it.
He's the token, quote unquote, insane person in town where you're like, oh, he's obviously the killer. It's pretty cut and dry. That's.
I don't think he had the mental capacity to
no.
be the killer. I was just like, no, this guy's just fun.
But
This
I
guy's
think that's what
fun,
they were
man.
trying to do. Keyword trying. With his character.
Oh yeah, because they do that whole thing in a little bit where the cop
The
and
whole
everything.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. After all of that, we get a scene and we're off. They're getting in their truck. Ralph gets on his rusty up little bike, and I was fearful he was going to fall down that very steep hill that he was starting to go down.
Are we not going to talk about the trucker, like, all over Annie, like, touching her ass and everything, putting her into the truck? Did you not notice that?
I was probably taking a note.
Totally fine.
I was probably taking a note.
It was so disgusting. I was like, oh, God. Oh, God. Why would you even think about getting in a truck with this guy? But I'd...
It's the 70s.
No, I know, but, like, if it was me, I'd completely fuck off at that point. I'd be like, I'm just gonna find my own way.
And yes, I know, technically it's present, so it would be 1980, but the first 3 years of every decade might as well just be associated with that previous decade.
Oh, for sure. Fashion and everything, and we'll get into that.
We get... What is next? I just sat there like, wow, we actually are doing this. We get a full-on exposition dump of why the camp is haunted.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, the boy drowned, and there was a bunch of fires, and the water went bad. And I'm like, seriously? Like, out of all those, the odd one out is the water went bad at some point.
I think we're just supposed to be like, ooh, it's haunted, it's spooky, she shouldn't be going there.
It's a camp with a lot of shithead teens. The fires does not shock me. They probably set it off. The water going bad, may want to talk to the city about that. A boy drowning, that happens sometimes, I guess, maybe.
The water going bad, it's New Jersey. Come on.
The water is bad in New Jersey. In this exposition dump, you get the whole, like, you young people, you don't get it.
You young whippersnappers.
And the acting for this line is amazing. The actress for Annie. And I wrote this line down specifically because I love it so much. She looks at him and just goes, "You're an American original."
She's
as like a comeback. And I'm like, I love that line so much.
She's so bubbly in her acting. That's why I thought when I first seen this film that she was going to be the main final girl, the way they were setting her up. She has
too much of a personality for
That's
her
fair.
to be the final girl.
God forbid I ask for personality in my main character.
I will say, though, I don't know if she was acting because I've seen a few interviews with her, and she is that bubbly.
Yeah.
Annie is dropped off. So somehow the halfway mark is a cemetery.
My note is drops her in front of a cemetery?
And she has to walk the rest of the way. And I'm like, the 70s are so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Or 1980, whichever one. But it's so weird.
Yeah, it's bad.
Walking half a way to a camp on a desert, like, desolate road.
The only upside is that it's broad daylight. Even then.
Even then,
Yeah.
like, today's world, you go walking around a forest like that, you're asking for some trouble.
Oh, for sure.
And then we get some banjo and some introduction to Kevin Bacon.
Kevin.
And two other people. I think it's the idiot. Is it the idiot that
His name
introduced?
is Ned. I don't know
Ned,
the girl's
and then
name, but I know Ned because he...
Marcy. Her name is Marcy.
Marcy and Ned and Kevin.
Marcy and Ned. Because I know we don't get to see Bill until he's in suspenders, shirtless.
Right.
That's I remember that introduction. We get introduced to them, and just through a lot of just kissing and horny sex talk.
Oh yeah, in the
all
car
it is.
or in the truck, all three of them.
In the truck.
Of course, she's in the middle.
One of them's obviously single.
Yeah.
Super single. They arrive and help who we don't know is Steve yet, but it's Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And this man is in some short shorts, a red ascot, and is harried up for a porn movie.
Oh yeah, the no shirt but the bandana around the neck was that the fashion trend? I should really check in on that. Is that going to come back like bell bottoms? I'm scared.
I mean, we're going back to the 90s / beginning of the 2000s now, so we have at least another 20 or 30 years before hopefully we go back to the 70s.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a choice. That's a choice that was made for sure.
It's choice. It's definitely a choice. They help him remove a tree trunk from the ground.
Yeah, I don't know what that's accomplishing, but okay.
More wood, I guess.
Ha.
I wasn't even intending that one. We are then introduced. He's like, Alice, and then Alice comes out of a cabin screaming, "I'm the final girl. Look at me."
My note
Innocence.
is I love Alice. She's so cute. I love her hair, her outfit. I'm totally digging Alice here.
You want to know how you know she's the final girl? She's, she has that look. She looks pure. She looks quiet. And she loves art. And we know in the 80s, like, art is like that weird thing.
Oh yeah, she's the interesting one of the group.
Her personality is she likes art.
She's not like the other girls.
And she makes instant coffee at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh yeah. Pure artist energy right there.
They then... I don't know if I'm missing plot, but I know just this. The next thing I just know is Alice is putting a gutter up on a cabin.
Right.
And Steve comes up and has the most beginning to a porno conversation with her I've ever heard.
It's so creepy. What were the vibes with this?
The vibes were, "Did you draw this?" "Yeah." And then he's like, "Did I look like that?" And her exact response was, "You looked like that last night."
Yeah, so... Okay,
like,
we're
this is
supposed to
creepy.
think that they slept together.
They've definitely slept together.
Yeah,
at some point.
But she doesn't have like any romantic interest in it. I was very confused.
I think this thing of it's either that or he just really wants to sleep with her.
Yeah.
It's one of the two,
Yeah.
because then it turns into a whole like she's gonna leave. We're gonna learn in a little bit that she probably would have been better off leaving.
But we never got the reason.
And gets convinced to stay.
We never got the reason why she wants to leave. What's going on?
I mean, like 10 minutes later, there was a fucking snake in her cabin.
No. But like before,
shit had to be going awry.
Before that, she's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about leaving, but why? I want to know the backstory, Alice."
Probably because he promised her other people were gonna help set the camp up, and it's been him and her for like a month straight.
Probably.
And she's probably just like, "When the fuck are they coming?"
Over
He's
this.
like,
I'm fucking over this. I don't get paid
"Soon,
enough."
I guess. They're coming soon. See, they're here. Okay, great. I can leave. No, stay. Fine. Hand on the cheek.
Yeah. It was very weird vibes for sure.
I'm just like going through my notes. It's like he convinces her to stay. They've definitely fucked. Here we go. We are now introduced to a man in white pants, dress suspenders. Those were dress suspenders.
Oh, yeah.
Completely shirtless. His name is Bill.
Oh, Bill.
And he's one of the Crosbys.
Yes.
Funny enough.
Yes. That was some interesting tidbit that I learned.
Also heard he was a completely chill guy on set.
You could totally
pretty
tell.
cool to work
You
around.
could totally tell.
I don't know exactly what they talk about.
Me neither.
But all I know is either I think Alice is the one that goes to talk to him, or is it?
I don't know. You got me.
It's one of the girls.
Yeah.
It's either Alice or Marcy at that point. They walk past the POV shot.
Mm-hmm. Like, not even 10 feet from the POV.
I like the callback they do later in the movie, though, to this exact moment.
Oh, yeah.
Steve decides... This man... First of all, I was going to say this. Steve is the guy who's running Camp Crystal Lake.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who's like, I'm going to put my money into running this back, getting this back up. I'm going to run it. Yeah, go Steve. He leaves the kids behind to be like, I'm going to the city. You guys do my job.
Yeah. How old are these kids? Like between, 15 and 18 years old, maybe?
They have to be, but they look like they're in their 30s.
Oh, no. The actors themselves, I think, are probably in their early 20s. But, you know, how Hollywood casts down in age.
Yeah. We then move forward to Brenda putting up the archery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Archery bags, and Ned decides he's going to shoot one at, like, right next to her and be like, aren't I so fun and quirky and hot?
Ugh, Ned is the worst.
But I do have a fun fact about this scene. You know Tom Savini, the VFX artist?
Yes.
He's the one who shot the arrow.
Oh, so they actually shot an arrow that close to her head.
The story he was he told was Sean S. Cunningham went over to him and asked him if he can shoot in a spot, and he pointed at it, and he shot it right where he pointed, and it actually scared Sean S. Cunningham because he was like, thought he could get hit also. But Tom Savini was like, I wasn't going to hit him.
Right, but taking that chance.
True, but I mean, while he was on set, him and some other person were shooting boxes off each other.
Yeah.
They like shooting boxes.
I get it, but I mean, this film definitely didn't have the budget or acting union to protect their fellow actors.
I think the only reason why I would have felt comfortable in that situation is you can tell this guy knows he's not going to hit you.
No, for sure, but anything can go wrong.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
but as long as it's one take, I'll be happy.
It's a little foreshadowing for Brenda's character.
But is it?
Yeah.
She doesn't get any arrows.
But she dies at the archery place.
Yes, she does die at the archery place.
Yeah.
Annie is picked up. We then go back to Annie, and she's picked up by our POV shot, now having a license. He's growing up so fast.
Is it a he, though?
It's an it.
Okay, we'll go with that.
It's a walking it.
It's a walking POV.
And I just have one note. I'm just like, can we kill this girl already? She's getting annoying.
But she's the bubbly one.
I know, but I'm a person that's like, I can only take bubbly for so long, and then the bubbly becomes like, I can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
It's going to be so great. It's going to be great. Yeah, that face. Oh, my God. Yeah. It's like, oh, my God. Shut up for like 5 seconds, please. Our POV driver drives past the camp, and Annie's just like, we just passed it. Can you turn around? Turn around. Turn around. She jumps out of the car. Smart. Like, I should be like, she was smart in this one. She gets chased, and we get like probably like a 2 or 3 minute chase scene in the forest. Not that good.
No, not at all.
And she gets her neck slit.
The effects for the neck cut, I liked. I thought it looked really good.
I mean, it's Tom Savini.
Yeah, no, I know, but I was impressed. So far, that was the most impressive thing of this film.
I feel like the VFX is the impressive thing.
Oh, yeah.
Of this
By
film.
By far.
We then... This is... I don't know if I've missed a part, but we get... The POV shot catches up with the group very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because my next note is, let's go to the beach, each, with the POV looking over us. Brenda, the smart girl, because she's talking about science.
Of course.
So, you know,
of
smart
course.
girl.
Yes.
This is the only time she talks about it. Gets, like, pulled in by Ned. Because Ned's, like, super horny, I guess.
Well, he has been since that car ride up here.
I know, but he's now, like, outwardly horny towards a person that does not want to be with him.
God, he's the worst character. I hate him so much.
Which is then preceded by another Ned scene where he pretends to drown so he can suck tongue with Brenda.
Yeah. I was really impressed with how well these kids reacted to an emergency.
I want to know one thing. I don't know if it was Brenda or Marcy. I don't know which one it was. I think it may have been Brenda. But one of these people did an amazing dive into the water.
Yeah.
Like, she dived, and I was like, you've done this before.
And then Kevin
I
went
was impressed.
as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, wow, these guys, have they been trained? Are they, first responders in a way?
I feel like being a lifeguard as a teenager was probably like a thing more in the 70s.
Sure.
Now it's like no one really wants to be a lifeguard as much anymore.
Yeah. But I was impressed.
We then, after all this is done, and he's just like, it was a joke, so I can suck tongue with Brenda, and they all get pissy with him. We then proceed to what is probably the most sitcom portion of this entire movie.
Also, very
where
senseless.
we get... Oh, I love the senselessness of this, though. We get a 2-minute segment of the entire crew just crying over a snake in Alice's cabin. Or I think it's all their cabins, possibly. It is the most slapstick comedy.
It is.
It is. How do you kill a snake? I don't know how to kill a snake. Kill it!
And then, there was one part where Kevin Bacon literally just, dog piles on Alice or something like that. I'm like, what are you accomplishing here?
The lamp falls over.
Yeah, everything.
Or
It's a mess.
Everything starts to fall over.
This is where their true, age of their characters shine through as 15 to 18-year-olds. Yeah.
After all that, we get... Oh, God.
Is it the problematic scene?
It's the problematic scene.
Oh, yeah.
And it's starring Ned, shockingly.
Yeah, complete shocker.
We get a cop arriving just in time to see a wonderful Native American dance by a white guy.
Yeah, in native headdress. It's disgusting.
And a t-shirt, underwear.
I hated this.
I hated this scene so much.
Did you catch the name of the cop?
I didn't.
Dorf. His name is Dorf.
Of course, it's Dorf because it's a bunch of teenagers. He's saying that they're looking for Ralph.
Right.
His wife has noted that he's been missing. So it's pointing to Ralph's the killer.
Yeah.
He's then he gets on them for possibly having marijuana.
I mean, cops and teenagers don't go well together, so.
And he then proceeds to say, he starts calling it 50 different things. But I always thought this was a joke that people would do to make fun of older people. I didn't know this was something that was actually said. one of the things he says is, the weed. I'm just like, I paused the movie and like my jaw just dropped. I was like, did he just say the weed?
It's the weed.
I was so confused. I just thought that was a joke that people said. I didn't think that was actually something a sane person said at some point. But yeah, Ralph's on the loose. He gets a cop call. And Kevin Bacon's character just decides he's gonna go up to the radio.
Yeah, he's just playing with the radio, as one does, I guess.
But he's starting to play with it as the call's coming through.
Yeah.
Guy has to leave. The cop, Dorf.
Mr. Dorf.
Dorf is leaving and practically eats shit.
And that was such a long take, too. Like, we watch him go down the road, make the U, and then come back up. I'm like, why?
And it's such a sudden cut that I'm 90% sure
he ate
fell.
Shit, yeah.
He ate shit, and they just didn't want to show
like,
him
oh,
eating
crap,
shit.
We gotta cut it.
Alice is in the kitchen, and she opens up the pantry, and motherfucking Ralph emerges. The messenger from God.
How did he get there?
I mean, they were all probably like fucking crying about the snake. They didn't notice.
That's fair. Okay.
A person was there.
That's true.
He's just like, I'm a messenger from God. I just love how he talks. You're all doomed.
It's, again, A+ acting, let me tell you.
Love him so much. I'm just going to say this now as someone who's... You haven't seen all the Fridays. I have. Mm-hmm. He is the best, like, outward character. Like, a character's not part of the crew. He's kind of like a third party. Oh, he's the best one of all the movies.
We only go downhill from here.
No, it's just... You just get a lot more mediocre.
Okay. All right.
He's the only one that has, like, a really memorable personality, in my opinion. Ralph, he claims he's a messenger of God, warns him about the death curse, and says everyone is doomed. And then he just goes, "You're all doomed," and rides away on his bike. His like wonderful little bike. And now, after all of that, it's time to cook in this very small kitchen with some very bad cooking.
Oh yeah. Again, they're 15 to 18-year-olds. What can they cook? And then
the power dies because nothing at this camp can go right. It's time to send some people to an emergency generator.
Oh, of course.
Which gets alluded to later with Bill going to the generator.
Yes.
We get power back, and for some reason we cut to a shot of a beaver in the water.
I don't understand why. Maybe because to make the movie a little bit longer, but whatever environment B-rolls that they did shoot, I really liked. Like, the surrounding area is really pretty.
Oh, the final shot, because I watched it, I have the Shout Factory edition, and the final shot of the movie where it's like, it's of the lake, and it's like in autumn, so all the trees are changing color.
Yeah.
Beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Ned is like peeping on Marcy and Kevin Bacon.
Oh, God.
And then proceeds to literally walk and kick stones.
Yeah,
like the most...
He's like, oh man, I wish that was me.
He then sees... I mean, we don't have to deal with Ned for much longer.
Oh,
he sees a figure at a cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And, if it's me, at least in today's world, if I see a figure in the cabin, I don't know who it is, I'm not going into that cabin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going the opposite direction.
That's rule number 1. Come on.
But however, Ned is an idiot, and he decides, hey, are you okay? Do you know where you are? Let me see you. And he dies off screen.
Yep.
We then get some thunder in the background, and Kevin Bacon's just like, it's about to storm. I'm like, wow. He's so psychological.
He could have been a weatherman in his life if he made it through this film.
It's currently raining outside. I don't know what's going to be happening tomorrow. Check back at 3 p.m. when I tell you about the 3 p.m. weather. We then get... Now, this is the only part of the movie that I felt like was a padding of time, because I don't know what the meaning was this. Marcy goes in to a, 2-minute monologue about raining blood and, her dream about a storm. And it doesn't have to do with her death or Kevin Bacon's death.
Right. It would be cool if it was, a premonition that she dreamt of one of the characters dying or her dying. That would be kind of cool. But it felt like just a moment of acting that they're like, we don't have a script, so, Marcy, let's go. Let's just do some improv and see where we get this.
I mean, the closest we get is when Kevin Bacon characters eventually ends up dying, a drip of Ned's blood falls on his head.
Yeah,
A drip.
Yeah.
That's not rain.
Yeah.
It's a drip.
That's a stretch, but okay, I'll give him that.
Oh, God, this is my least favorite part of the movie. So I have to preface this next part of the movie by saying... I wanted to make sure I heard everything because I was the person that was going to be taking the notes on the plot. Mm-hmm. So I listened to this movie on noise-canceling headphones.
Oh, that was a choice.
The next... And they're quality ones, so, I really canceled the noise.
You got in that.
Which is why my least favorite part of the movie is up next, where Kevin Bacon and Marcy start to get it on.
Oh, yeah.
And here we go. I have a note. I actually had to write a note on this because I had to get my feelings out somehow because they were really filling me with rage and uncomfortableness. Mm-hmm. My note is hearing tongue sucking with noise canceling headphones on is the nastiest thing I've ever heard.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Do you know what it's like to have noise canceling headphones, then all you hear is the equivalent of someone going into here and being like I don't need to hear two people gargling into my ears. That's it. I don't need to hear gargling. Oh God, the rainstorm ends up coming and we cut to Alice and Brenda and Bill and they're sitting in the main cabin. And they're like, let's play Monopoly. Oh, well, Brenda's like, let's play Monopoly. Alice, she's like, I hate Monopoly.
And Brenda's like, not
she's
the way I
not
play it.
Not when I play it.
Yeah.
Strip Monopoly. And I was like...
That's a new one.
And Brenda could have lived, but then she was like, hey, do we have any more of the weed? Of that weed? That's it.
That's her nail in the coffin.
You're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
You're dead at that point.
But I do like those three. I like Alice, Brenda, and Bill. I felt like I could hang out with those guys. They seem so cool.
They were the only three characters I felt a connection to in that entire movie.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's a breaking point to where I feel a connection to Alice, and then I start to get annoyed, and I just don't like her
towards
anymore.
the end,
which is later in the movie.
Yeah, I understand.
Yep.
It's probably at the same point for me too.
Now, the next segment, it's cut between strip Monopoly and sexy time with Kevin Bacon.
Right.
Cutting back and forth. We cut back to Kevin Bacon.
Also,
another Ryan note.
We don't know Kevin Bacon's character's name. We're just calling him Kevin, right?
His name's Kevin Bacon.
Is the character's name Kevin? Sure, let's go.
No, it's definitely not. It's Kevin.
To me, it is.
I have another note. Sex with headphones is something I never want to hear again. And I'm writing down that note. And as I'm writing it down, I get done. I look up, and I look up to Marcy squeezing Kevin Bacon's peach fuzzy ass. And you could have heard my eye roll because I was that over it at this point.
Some bacon butt.
Oh, God, I look up and I was just like, oh, great. It's a booty cheek just getting squeezed. Ugh. You see this dead silence? This is me getting I'm thinking about it, and it's it's making my eyes roll because it's just God, I have to experience that through secondhand again. We cut to seeing Ned with his neck slit on the bunk above Kevin and Marcy.
I like that shot.
I do too. I also like knowing how he died because I for some reason I didn't remember how he died, and I thought maybe I don't get to see it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because
I like that we saw it.
It like we saw him get attacked and then it cut, so it was good to see the end result of that. If you're not going to show the attack, show what happens to them, or at the end result is what I mean.
I don't know if they finish.
I think it was implied they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marcy's like, I have to go pee, and I'm like, oh,
in this thunderstorm, like severe thunderstorm.
Listen, I get it. When you have to pee and it's bad, you gotta go. It's not their fault that the bathroom cabin is on the other side of the camp.
I was like, girl, just stand outside and squat. Like you shouldn't be going down the hill. This is some danger right here.
So she ends up leaving. Kevin Bacon's sitting in bed, and like I said before, he gets a drop of blood on his head. Mm-hmm. He brushes it off, looks at it. A hand comes from underneath the bed, and it puts a spear through his neck.
I loved that jump scare. I wasn't expecting the hand to hit his forehead. That whole slap sound, I really liked it. And the effect of the arrow going through the neck, gruesome.
I will say, as someone who watched it in the quote-unquote 4K remaster, you can tell it's a prosthetic, and I feel like kind of getting rid of natural film grain that came back then kind of ruined a little bit of the effect.
Yeah.
And that's not their fault.
No.
That's just, unfortunately, we have to see it. Like most releases of this movie now, you're going to see it as this and not how it was meant to be.
Not just this film, but I think a lot of remasters do take away that film grain. And it, like you said, it does take away some specialness from the original. But I watched it a regular HD cut, and it looked fairly good. I really liked it, and the blood looked good.
The blood looked great.
Spouting. I read or I watched something on Netflix about it, and they had to do this in one take. They could not do it again. They had to do it in one take. So I guess the blood spurt was not working. So I think what's his name? Is it Tony? The special effects guy?
Tom Savini?
Yeah, Tom.
Tom Savini.
I think he was under the bed, and he took the hose for the blood and then blew it. So that's how you got that splurting effect, just because it was a natural effect. But it was pretty cool.
While all this is happening, we are still getting some strip monopoly, and we cut back to. Are we? Yeah. This is the end of the game. So Bill already lost his boot and his shirt.
Right. It was Alice's turn.
And it's Alice's turn, and Brenda's like, "This is getting good."
Is Brenda the token gay?
I mean,
she likes.
It's a horror movie, so the gay person always has to die.
And she likes science, so that's pretty gay of her, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here.
I think they allude to it a little bit with her being like, no.
Ooh, it was getting good. Yeah, with Alice.
When Alice was about to take her top off. While Alice is beginning to take the top off, the wind blows the door open. And right? Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is not where we are.
It's not?
That's not. I skipped the entire Marcy scene. In the bathroom? That's how memorable this person was. That's how memorable this character was. I skipped her entire bathroom scene.
Oh, that's sad. And I'm going along with it. I'm like, we didn't miss a thing. And that was a long scene. Oh man. Marcy.
Marcy gets to the bathroom to pee, and it's followed by the POV. Marcy continues to hear noises in POV. She's peeing. She's like,
"What?
Kevin Bacon, did you follow me into the bathroom?"
Also, what was with her monologue in the mirror? What was that all about?
I feel like that's all she did. She was like, I do monologues. My character monologue.
I did a monologue to Kevin Bacon before my sex scene. I'm doing it after my sex scene.
I got the water running, so like
The
girl.
rain outside, I'm feeling myself.
She gets an axe to the face.
Yeah, my note is axe to the face. Pretty gruesome.
Probably actually no. I think she probably has the second best death. There's still one more coming up that would probably be the best
my fave
of the movie.
I think it might be my fave.
Now we're back to the strip
Here
poker.
we go.
Wind blows open. Brenda's like, "Oh my god, I think I left my window open." Who leaves your windows open? That's how you get bugs.
That is how you get bugged. No screens are on those windows.
Oh no! Do you think they have the
no.
budget for a screen?
Yeah, no.
She heads back to the cabin, and we cut to a diner.
Oh, I don't even have that in my notes.
The reason why I have this acknowledged is because the woman who's running it, you can tell she's the person who naturally works there.
Yes, I loved her so much. I don't know what her name was, but I loved her.
You can tell she was a local.
Yeah.
Like, she probably just worked there, and they were just
They're
like,
hey, can we use this
you
diner
just
real
talk?
quick? Yeah,
Just talk.
Yeah.
Get some money, get him out.
it was adorable. I liked her a lot.
But yeah, that was kind of it about the scene. It was just, you can just tell she was more of a local.
Yeah, and I guess it was just to play Steve, not anywhere near the camp, so he's not. I don't know if they were going to try to allude to him being the killer. I don't know. But
I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
Brenda stops in the bathroom where Marcy was killed to brush her teeth.
And no blood from that axe is anywhere
No
to
blood
be
from
found.
that axe. And a hand appears from behind a shower curtain.
I did
Or a potty curtain.
I did
whichever
like
one
that.
It is.
That was cool.
And Brenda, for the second time, because I didn't say this before, on the beach or like the dock area, she is the one who suspects that there was someone watching her, watching them.
Yeah.
And then she suspects it again now.
But
So at least she has good intuition,
when
but she
she
just can't follow through on it.
Exactly. I was just going to say, when she sees that creepy hand, she's like, but she doesn't go to investigate it like Marcy does. Good on her for minding her own goddamn business.
I think she just leaves right after that. Like, she just brushes her teeth, heads
Yeah,
out.
she was like, okay. And then dips, yeah.
And then, this is why I don't get. We cut from Steve to Brenda, back to Steve, and his car is stalling.
Right.
And he is picked up by a police officer, and I'm going to say this police officer is very trustworthy, because if a random person came up to me in the rain and just got into my car,
Yeah.
I'd be petrified. We are now back at Brenda. We're back to Brenda.
Right, yeah.
Someone is Mr. or Itter. POV is back looking at Brenda.
I did like the framing of this. I made a note of it because there were 3 frames on the window pane, and the 2 on the side were frosted, and the one in the middle where we're looking at Brenda was just clear. It was a nice little, focus in on the target.
Do you think that was intentional? Or do you think it was something like, hey, it's here. That'll look cool. Let's do it.
Option 2, for sure.
Brenda heads to bed and hears someone scream, "Help me!" right as she gets into bed.
It was damn creepy. Damn creepy.
And I'm going to say this now. I would not go help the person because there's no kids at the camp.
Exactly.
I'm already...
Don't be a hero, Brenda.
My guard's up.
Don't be a hero.
She eventually heads outside towards the voice. And after like a good bit of traveling in the dark, we finally get to the archery area where the floodlights are turned on.
Yep.
And she is killed off screen.
Yep.
There's a lot of off-screen deaths where you just see the body later on.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that was because with Halloween being intentionally not gory, that they were trying to do that in the first place, and then they were like, never mind, let's show those disgusting bodies at the end?
Maybe, or it could just also be they didn't have the budget
True.
to show people getting hit.
That's true.
While all this is going on, Alice and Bill are at the main cabin none the wiser. They're just, they're living life.
Oh, yeah.
Bill and Alice leave the cabin to check on Brenda at her cabin, but they don't find her, and in its place, they find a bloody axe in her bed.
Yeah. What was...
They check the rest... What was that?
Oh, no, just that immediately Alice is like, we should call someone. I'm like, yes, please call someone, now.
But they don't call anyone at that point.
Not at that point, but they have it in their mind.
They have it in their mind, but they go, let's find everybody first. And they continue to go to different cabins, and they go to the bathroom and everywhere to try and find them. They eventually end off at the office building, and the phone lines aren't working. And I liked this shot because they don't know the wire is cut, but the viewer knows the wire is cut. Yes, I noted
that tracking shot, that we just track to watch them, but we're also looking to see that the phone line's cut. Very well done.
Yes. They eventually get back to the main cabin, and they try to get into Ned's car from the beginning of the movie, and it doesn't work. Shocker. Yeah, right? The car doesn't work. They decide, let's wait till Steve gets back.
Yeah, but Alice is like, let's hike out of here. And then I think, was it Bill was like, oh, no, let's wait for Steve because Steve's going to be coming back soon.
I know Bill's the one that does say wait for Steve.
Yeah, because I wrote a note that Alice is like, yeah, this feels weird. We need to get out of here now.
Steve, we then get to cut right back to Steve, and Steve is dropped off a distance away from Camp Crystal Lake.
Oh, yeah.
And thankfully, this is a very quick thing. He's dropped off and is basically killed right away.
Yeah. At this point, we get close enough to the killer through, I think, his point of view, and it shows off that the killer is short and, I guess, not threatening because Steve gets so close to them.
I do think with the original movie probably worked way better because there was film grain, so you couldn't see the person's face, where their face was very obvious. In, the Ned scene, I knew who it was.
Oh, okay, because when
you can see it plain as day.
I watched it, and I did not know. I did like the music cue, too, right when the stabbing was happening. Those were always really nice and consistent throughout the movie. Those
were.
Yeah.
Our POV heads to the generator room and cuts the power. Smart. It's probably the smartest thing. Alice stays in the cabin while Bill decides to go to the generator alone.
Did they never watch Scooby-Doo? You never split up. Never split up.
He gets there, and he checks the gas, I guess, and I guess the gas has been drained?
No, the gas is full. He's like, it's full. Because he uses the measuring stick. He's like, it's full. That's weird. Yeah.
He gets seemingly... Well, we now know he gets killed off screen, but at that moment, he's seemingly killed off screen.
There was good composition in this scene, because Bill is looking towards the camera, and over his right shoulder is a dark part that's in the little shed, and it's kind of directing your eye towards that, so I'm guessing that's where the killer was. This film doesn't have, much going for it with, I don't know, shot and direction in general, but there are a few scenes here and there that I can appreciate.
I mean, they did have a good fake away in this scene where you think it's a POV shot, but it's actually just a natural camera shot.
Yeah.
We then go back to Alice, and she wakes up from a nightmare and starts to make instant coffee. Now, I don't know what was more wrong about this. The fact that she's making instant coffee or the fact that she put the mugs on the burners of the stove.
I mean, she is a little frazzled. What I did like in this scene, though, is it was a long scene, but it was all in one take. There's a slow push-in that continuously goes towards Alice, and it's kind of amping up the tension. We're waiting for something to happen for the shoe to drop. So that was nice.
Alice decides... I'm not going to do my coffee anymore. I'm going to go find Bill. And she then finds Bill dead, pinned up against the generator room door, just arrows in him. Arrows. Best kill of the movie.
Yes.
It wasn't even shown, and it was the best kill.
Yes. Her scream was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The reason it was fantastic, apparently, was they didn't they didn't do any training for that shot. It was the actress who played Alice's real reaction to the body on the door.
I mean, I have a note of the end of the movie about her reaction to something.
Please. Okay.
So
awesome.
She just seemed like she was a very good reactionary person.
And this is the first interaction that any live character besides the killer has with the dead body, and we're about an hour and 10 minutes into this film.
Alice runs back to the main cabin and locks the door by putting a rope, like. She ties it around the doorknob, then she puts it over, like, the, I forgot what they call those.
Kind of like the door frame, or like the... I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
And then she proceeds to barricade the pull door.
She's nervous. She doesn't know what's going on. She's trying to do things all very fast. Poor thing.
She goes to the kitchen, and Brenda, dead body Brenda with like a rope tied to her, is thrown through the window, and she proceeds to like quiet scream,
like in shock,
and like and she's like crawling, and like her jacket gets stuck to I think maybe the stove, and it gets pulled off. We then. After that, she's like, I'm getting out of here. Yeah. She unbarricades the door and runs out to Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's like, let's go check the cabin.
I liked that it's disarming. We're getting like a motherly figure thrown into this, and Alice is like, oh, thank God, someone I can trust. An older woman, you know, she knows this camp. Okay, so... maybe we can, get out of here safely.
Yeah.
But there's something off with her. I know they're trying to make it seem like she's a safe character for Alice to be around, but I don't know if it's in her eyes or if it's the way she speaks. It could be a combination. But there's always just something a little off about Miss Voorhees here.
They go back in to the cabin. And she proceeds to have, like, this monologue over Brenda's body, being like, oh, such a poor, unfortunate soul.
Yeah. Then it's starting, the creep factor is starting to get turned on.
Then the creep factor begins. I have a note that Betsy Palmer is so over the top, and it's, like, selling this character even more.
She's the only actor, I think, in this film that has, like, true acting experience. So it's really shining through, unfortunately, for the others.
I mean, I believe Kevin Bacon was in Animal House before.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
This movie.
She's seasoned.
And Mrs. Voorhees then proceeds to give us the biggest exposition dump of the entire movie, talking about Jason drowning. And she's like, it's his birthday. And, so Jason's birthday is June 13th.
I did like when she finally mentions Jason's name. You get the sound right when the name's mentioned. Very, very nice. And
then she's like hallucinating him drowning.
Yeah, she's getting a little PTSD going on.
After all that, like the exposition dump, the hallucinations, it's chase time. It's the final chase.
Alice is like, okay, we got Miss Crazy over here. I gotta get the hell out.
She gets out. She runs into Annie in the car. And she runs into Steve, who falls upside down from a tree.
That was a little much. Much. I didn't like that.
We finally get to kill her, mommy line. And Alice she gets a gun and tries to find the ammo. Mrs. Voorhees, while she's doing that, turns the power back on. Eventually, Mrs. Voorhees catches up and slaps her.
Just boom.
Bah, bah, bah. I'm like, yes, kill her with slapping. Slap her to death. And then she throws her through a table.
Yeah.
I just think it's like just a great like thing of like you slapping a person, then right after that you just throw them through a table.
There's a lot of physical acting happening at the end of this film for sure.
Alice, I believe, either kicks her or puts the rifle I think she hits Mrs. Voorhees with that to get her away.
Yes, she does.
And then knocks her out. Or incapacitates her, one of the two.
You know what happens 3 times? Mrs. Voorhees gets up 3 times after these like really heavy hits. I'm like, God damn. She could really take one.
That's what my next note is. She gets up. She gets back up. Alice at this time has gotten back to the main cabin and hides in the pantry, which is like, girl, that's the first place someone's going to look.
I mean, Ralph was in there. Come on.
And she has a frying pan.
Classic.
That's her. I will say, the next knockout is the one I don't get of her getting back up.
Oh,
Mrs. Voorhees getting back up.
absolutely. Yeah, I know.
Eventually, Mrs. Voorhees gets in the cabin, and I guess she pretends to leave and then gets into the pantry.
I think so. It gets a little choppy here for me.
Yeah. Alice grabs the frying pan and knocks Mrs. Voorhees out. That looked like a iron skillet.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get back up from that.
No,
you are gone.
No, you're done. You're done.
That's the one I didn't believe her getting up.
There is a shot of the full moon. I don't know when it happens, but there was a scene back with the cop. It might have been him talking to Steve when he picked him up, and the cop basically says that the full moon brings out the crazy in people. So that was a nice little callback to that little conversation that happened.
I did just realize I missed one note, and it was something I talked about earlier in the episode. When Alice walked past the POV and didn't see her, when Mrs. Voorhees is giving chase, they kind of do the same thing where she walks right kind of past Alice, where you would have seen her,
right,
but doesn't see her.
I do like that. Yep.
At least they kept continuity with that.
Yeah.
After the frying pan, Alice gets to the dock and sits next to a boat. Like, she just kind of sits next to the boat, and Mrs. Voorhees appears from behind.
Why didn't Alice just go? What was the point of her just sitting there?
I have no clue. And our final fight starts. Whatever this is.
Yeah, I guess it's a fight. Sure.
It's just rolling on the ground and throwing their head into the sand, which, as someone who's landed in sand before, it doesn't really hurt
no.
that much. After some time, they fight back and forth. Alice cuts Mrs. Voorhees' head off with a machete?
With the machete, yep.
It is a machete.
That's the sharpest machete I've ever seen. In one slice.
Mrs. Voorhees proceeds to give me Cobra Commander vibes.
With the hands?
With the hands, like she's finally foiled. Now, what happens next was not in the original script.
Correct.
It was part of a rewrite because Sean S. Cunningham wanted a chair jumper in the film.
Okay.
So this is where it was. Alice gets on a canoe and rides into the middle of the lake where she falls asleep and is seemingly awakened by cops arriving.
Right.
Now, I'm going to note, as they do a faraway shot and she's moving in the lake and the trees are beautiful,
it's
the
gorgeous
day of
scene.
time, beautiful,
hopeful,
the
triumphant
water,
music is
beautiful.
happening.
Yes. We now get our chair jumper, which is Kid Jason jumping out of the water and pulling Alice underneath it.
Yep.
And fun fact about that scene, they didn't want Adrienne King, who was the actress for Alice, to see Kid Jason before the scene was shot.
Oh.
So the first time they shot it, she jumped out of the boat when she saw it.
Understandably. Wow, I did not know that. So she jumped forward because she was so scared?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had to dry her off, dry her clothes, and then redo the entire scene.
Oh, no. Poor thing.
She awakens in the hospital, surrounded by cops. I think the cops are with her.
A nurse,
because she asked
a doctor,
where the boy is.
Yeah, and she's talking to the cop. Yeah.
And, they said there was no boy.
It was
she's
a
like,
dream sequence?
but she's under firm belief it was not a dream sequence.
Yeah, exactly.
And we end up, this movie ends with a close-up of the water of Camp Crystal Lake.
The final line being, "Then he's still there. ... Opening for sequels to come."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was about.
And we roll the credits.
And now, time for the movie roundup. All right, so overall, it's a classic film. I gave it maybe a little bit too high. I gave it a 7 out of 10. The pacing is pretty decent for the film. The kills I liked, mostly because of those special effects. And wherever the jump scares were, they did get me, especially the Kevin Bacon one. That was a good one. And, of course, Jason at the end in the water.
Now, I'm going to ask you an actual question, because I watched this movie last year, and my reaction was, this is so boring. Can this end already? It's so dry.
On my first watch through, it was like that. But the second time, this is only my second time watching the film. I liked it. I had a good time.
Now, is that because you and I were taking notes, and this movie is just nice to take notes because you can kind of not have to pay attention at all times?
That might be it. We're going to have to see when we do the rest of the films to see how this one holds up.
I am petrified of taking notes during part 6 because that thing goes at like 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Fantastic.
I'm not looking forward to that.
I wish the characters had a little bit more depth. We didn't really get much from them. I didn't really expect much with knowing the behind the scenes of how this film went. But like the vibe I get for this film is like if I'm at a sleepover or they're like, oh, let's watch a scary movie when I was young. It wouldn't be my go-to, but I wouldn't say no to it. It's not the worst choice that we could have.
The best way, because, eventually we're going to have to rank all these movies. Yeah. This movie ranks probably bottom 3 for me.
Okay, but you've seen all of the films, right?
I've seen all of them, and I want to see your reaction the more we go, because to me, you saying it's a 7 doesn't shock me, because I feel as though this movie is a very solid 7 to some.
Yeah.
To me, it's a 6.
Okay.
It has fun moments. It's just I don't really like the characters. I'm not a fan of what happens with Alice towards the end.
Yeah, me neither. Especially since I liked her character.
Alice is kind of put in this rock in a hard place of being the first final girl of the series, but then also being followed up by arguably the best final girl of the series.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah, it was... Every franchise has to start somewhere. This is where this one started. I think a lot of people give this one a lot of flack because at the end of the day, it's not Jason.
Right. And that's what you're expecting.
Exactly. And I feel like to a lot of people, they may forget this exists.
Because of that fact that it's not Jason?
Yeah.
Now, I want to discuss real quick. Have there been any female serial killers in film before this?
In this, no, which I think was one of the reviews, or some, I don't remember who said it, but I think the screenwriter was outside of, it was outside of a room and he heard someone talking about it, like someone he was about to, meet, and he talked about how they flipped everything on its head of
that revealing
mom being the killer.
I thought that was pretty creative.
It is.
I know Jason's not in it, but this is a little different, a little bit different take.
I do think, though, the reason why probably people don't jump on this one as much is it's a 70s slasher, which means it's very dry.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot does happen. It could be a slug at moments, and it just doesn't make sense. This entire movie just doesn't make sense. So I can see why a lot of people are like, I'll skip it.
It's amazing it made as much sense as it did with them basically not having a script and just filming as they went. So, that's a little impressive. But yeah, no, I can understand where people are coming from that being incoherent at times.
But I do believe it's a solid movie.
Yeah.
However, from here on out, this is where we start to get Jason,
Right.
and
He's the true star.
that's the person people are here for.
For sure. I'm excited.
I am also excited.
All right.
All right. Our journey through the movie is now thoroughly complete, and it is time for us to somehow build a haunted house out of this. We have to use it. We can bend the story to our will, but everything has to have happened in this movie somehow.
I mean, if Hollywood, or what is it, Halloween Horror Nights or whatever can do this for pretty much anything, I think we got this in the bag.
But they have a bunch of movies to work with. We have one.
Let's do it.
Let's do this. What is your idea? Like, what do you want to feel? Okay.
As someone who doesn't do haunted houses at all because I'm a little bitch, mine's more of a concept. I would want the whole ride as if we were experiencing it as the point of view of the movie. So, like, as the killer. First, we would go through the scenery.
How do we get jump scares if we're as the POV?
I don't know. Okay, well, roll with me here, okay?
Okay.
So we first go through the scenery. We see, key parts of the film, like the dock, the cabins, and then we can see the lake, whatever. Each room would be either the aftermath of the killing, so we already see, like, the dead bodies and, like, the gruesome part, or, like, right before it happens, like, when, you see the stabbing happen. And then we end as we start, either with, like, the serene shot of the lake with Alice in the canoe, and then it kind of we go through that. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to let you know exactly how we're ending.
Oh, fine. Perfect.
We're ending with Kid Jason, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out at ya. Fun fact, my idea isn't as far off from yours.
Oh.
It's just we're not only the POV.
That's fine. This is interesting.
You're kind of experiencing the movie.
Okay, we didn't, like, collab on this at all. These were completely separate ideas, so that's interesting. Okay. Please share with the class.
Here's my idea.
Yeah.
We start with the facade, which is basically before we even enter the house, before we even get a scare, it sets the environment, sets the tone.
Okay.
You said at the entrance of Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
And since she dies so far away from everybody else, you kind of just see while you're going past one of the trees, like Annie's dead body lying against the tree.
I like it.
And you enter a cabin.
Okay.
That's how we would enter it.
Okay.
Room number 1, or just one room. I feel like probably starting in 1958.
Oh, you're going back. Okay.
I am going back only because you have the availability to have a good jump scare that actually has Mrs. Voorhees or the killer interact with you.
Yeah. Okay.
So boy's already dead. We don't. What we do is we continue forward we hear a scream.
Are we zigzagging? Does the ride zigzag?
I mean, you're the one who's going to be going through this in VR. Do you want to zigzag?
No, I don't. No.
We're going straight. Got it. We hear a scream. We get a strobe light, and on that strobe light, we get Mrs. Voorhees coming out with a machete or a knife. I don't know which one she was holding back then.
Okay.
And that kind of does that room. That room's kind of focused on
it's setting it up,
setting everything up.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the issue. This movie has a lot of dead time. where like nothing happens. So like my next idea is Ralph in the pantry, because we're getting Ralph in the pantry at some point.
No, I was thinking maybe we could see Steve going off the screen, like with his truck, seeing that like he's leaving Camp, Blood, and then we go into another cabin or something, and then you can get your Ralph, whatever.
Is the jump scare
Ralph?
Seeing him?
Absolutely. 100%. It's the
No,
scary.
the jump scare is Steve.
Steve?
Steve's the jump scare.
In his outfit? Yes.
So yeah, it'd be like you're inside the cabin, you see everyone off, or you see the car off from inside the cabin through the windows.
Okay, all right.
And then eventually we make a left turn, because I believe the way that house was set up is if you're entering from part of the house and you're passing the windows on the right, the left would be
the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
While you're passing the pantry, Ralph comes out. He's like, "I'm a messenger from God."
And he's like, "Ooh, you're doomed."
You're doomed.
Yeah. Okay, I like
You're
that.
all doomed.
Like, we're just passing by that real quick.
Yes.
I like that.
And we then get... Now, this is where, again, we jump. And this is the issue, is you just do a lot of jumping. This is the one where I would say let's take some liberties.
Oh, please. We need some creative liberties with this film.
We get to the cabin. Aftermath of Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
Being
So it's like
dead.
we're going into another cabin for the next room.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, everything here is going to be cabin-oriented.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everything's kind of locked to a cabin. We get to the cabin. Kevin Bacon, he's dead.
Bacon. Okay. Baked. No. Burnt
He's
bacon.
fried.
Burnt.
He's
burnt
burnt.
bacon. To a crisp. No.
The jump scare here...
Is it
Oh,
Ned?
you're gonna hate me.
Is it
it's
Ned?
falling on you.
No!
It's Ned falling on the cart.
Fuck.
Off the top of the bed onto the cart.
Oh, it's getting worse and worse. From Ralph to Ned.
Hey, Ralph is the best part. I put so much time into
Sure.
thinking how this Ralph thing was gonna go.
We have to put him in there somehow for you.
Yeah, so I know you were a big fan of Kevin Bacon's death and seeing the spirit
with the
his
blood.
neck and everything. So if we were able to
See
go
the-
past him and see the spitting, and then
Yeah.
you think all is safe, and then Ned falls on your
Yeah.
cart.
I like that. I like as we're leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Of
yes.
course.
Thankfully, the next one's right there, and it's Marcy.
Ah, poor Marcy.
It's the bathroom. We're
Do we-
going to the bathroom.
Do we like go past the bathroom when we see her against the wall with like the axe in her head?
So here is what I want to know. Would you rather that, or would you rather have Mrs. Voorhees come at you with an axe?
Ooh. That's a good question. I kind of like... I mean, it depends on time, right? If there's so much dead space with this film, we kind of have to speed it up. So I would... If we need speed, go past, we see dead Marcy in the bathroom. If we want to... Because we just had a jump scare with Ned, so I think that's the way to go. If you do one on top of the other, it would be a little much.
I get that. What we could probably do is you would add the sound effect of her death before you see her. You would hear her
As
death.
we're transitioning into that room, maybe.
Yeah.
I like that.
Up next, possibly would be the... Would Brenda come next, or do we have something before Brenda?
I mean, not much else happens, right?
Also, I am not doing a Steve death. Steve does not get
No.
a death room.
It wasn't important
Not
enough.
at all.
I mean, what happens? Strip Monopoly? We can't put that in there. I think it has to be Brenda's death, right?
How do we do this, though? Do we say how she died, or do we get back to the cabin and then while you're going past the window, she gets thrown through it as a jump scare?
I think we would do that one. I like that.
As a jump scare?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like maybe we see Alice with her instant coffee, and then we ride past her, and then on the side window, just poor Marcy comes through the window. We gotta have instant coffee.
Here's the thing: if this was my nightmare, this house would be nothing but Kevin Bacon and Marcy having sex.
Oh, understandable. But
and the noise being in your ears.
I think that's
my nightmare.
That's just a porno at that film.
And then Steve walks in just to solidify it.
Oh god, with the ascot around his neck. Let's go.
And his shorts have become even more booty.
Oh, of course.
Now is where things get a little crazy. We get through the room. Brenda's got thrown through the window.
Mm-hmm. Things are amping up.
We are in the forest, but we're also in a small room because this is a building of a house, so it's like fake trees.
Right, of course.
Strobe lights going fucking crazy.
Right.
Epileptic shock. Who? You. We're moving. We're going. Steve's dead body falls down in front of you.
Oh, no.
Scares the shit out of you. From the right, you get Mrs. Voorhees running at you, being like, "Let me kill you."
Nice. Cut?
We end.
Oh.
In a very... After all of that, after the fucking... Heffalump nightmare area.
That's a great description.
That was Steve and Mrs. Voorhees.
Ooh.
And when Mrs. Voorhees comes out, you can have the thing saying "kill her, mommy," and she comes out and gets you.
All right. Then it's black, right?
Then it's black.
Ooh.
For a transition room.
Okay. All right.
We get into the final room. The trees are beautiful.
Give me that triumphant music.
Triumphant music.
Oh, yeah. We're safe, right?
You're safe. You're fine.
Okay. We made
You
it.
then realize...
Oh, no.
You are on top of water.
Oh, God.
So you know what's about to happen.
I am. I'm not Jesus Christ.
Not when. Just don't know when. And we end with our final jump scare being... Kid Jason coming after you.
Yes.
But this is probably the closest something is going to get to you.
Right. Like it's coming right at you.
It's coming right at you.
Yeah. I like it.
You get to that final door. And congratulations. You've made it.
Oh. We survive another day.
You survive another day.
I think.
Or to the next house.
I think our ideas pretty much matched up. You just went a little bit more in depth. I'm glad we went and hatched this out.
The level designer in you was able to kind of like word it.
Right? You can tell whose area of expertise this is for sure.
This is. I will say I did find this a little bit more constricting than I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. Only because, in 2, 3, 4, maybe not as much 5. I think 5's the closest to 1. 6 is crazy. 6, we can go off for like an hour and still have like more ideas to go off of. 1 just has very limited ideas you can work off of.
Right.
Because there's not a lot of deaths. Everything's a POV shot, so you don't really get like a lot of jump scares.
Right.
And the jump scares you get are very... intimate to the characters, not to the audience.
Right. Okay. It's a little simplified.
It's very simplified, which is why, like, especially with this haunt build, it's like it kind of put itself together because it had to. There was no like crazy way. It's just there's a formula. Unfortunately, with the first movie, you kind of have to follow that formula.
It's very linear in that sense, for sure.
Yeah. It doesn't allow, I can't put the end of the movie at the beginning of the house.
Right.
I have to keep the end of the movie at the end of the house. I have to keep the middle of the movie in the middle of the house. The way the deaths happen, they all happen in a way of the story making sense of them happening in that order.
Yeah. And the
so
speed
I can't
of
even flip them.
The speed of the film depends on the speed of the kills and in that order. For sure. Okay.
I mean, there's definitely like sometimes where you could like possibly add a scare somewhere, but it's like, are you adding a scare or are you just adding a transition scene?
Right.
Because what we could have done, which I think is another idea we could have had for a room, is we could have had, while we're going through the, the blah, 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 blah of Steve coming out, Steve falling down, and Mrs. Voorhees coming out, we could have went past the cabin door and the door would have shut and you would have saw Bill while you were going past him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we left out the best kill. Did we leave out the best kill?
I think by accident.
Ooh.
But at the same time, there's no jump scare in that one. That one's just more of it's the visceralness of seeing it.
But we would have to put it in there. Like, you know how we ride past Marcy with the axe? Mm-hmm. You could do that. It's the same thing with Bill. True.
I mean, that could be the transition room between Brenda getting thrown out. Mm. You get a transition room, door shuts, there's Bill. And then that's how stuff starts to get very crazy in the next one with the strobe lights and Steve falling.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
that.
catalyst there. It could work.
Or it could just do that thing of, if you want to add your own story, it's you see Bill, and, I feel like if we wanted to add like a jump scare somewhere, put in the car headlights on somewhere.
Or the car headlights can spotlight Bill, and then when it does that, you get Alice's iconic scream. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah,
that's what I mean by like you can take liberties at some point.
Yeah, of course.
Because you kind of have
to. You need to direct the house in your own way, for sure.
So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like it.
Brenda to Bill to Steve and Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we add one more joke room where Mrs. Voorhees' head falls in your car?
Ooh, like as you're leaving, like you thought the last bit was with Jason. No, it's the dead head.
It's her head. What was that? A head.
What else?
But I will say the good thing, because you brought up Halloween Horror Nights. The one good thing about this is since we're putting it in we're building it in Unreal Engine at the end of the day. We're doing a design, they've been doing a gray boxing in Unreal. You're allowed more liberties.
Then
things can get
like
crazier.
Physical realm for sure.
Like, you can go over water because it's a virtual world. You can have a dead body fall on top of you because it's a virtual world. Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm shocked Halloween Horror Nights has not started doing VR houses.
Oh,
like one every year.
Yeah, it might be too expensive.
Possible. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I like one of the ideas for this was that I did one off of Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Right.
And that only took me a month.
Mm.
Which I cannot wait to get that movie in the future.
You're gonna cannot
hear me
wait.
Fanboy out. And you're gonna hear you be petrified.
Fantastic.
But I think we have a really solid house.
Yeah, I think we did a good job.
I thought this was going to be a lot harder than it was.
I think it was easy because we were both on the same wavelength, for sure.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more worried when the movies... I know we have. I know the wavelength will kind of fall apart when the movies get crazier and there's a lot more to do.
There's more ideas to be thrown out, for sure.
And then you're like, we only have 13 rooms.
We gotta cut it down, okay.
But here's my final question for you. Before we end this segment up and go to our concluding bit, when we create our final ultimate Friday the 13th house, can you see any of these rooms making it in? Because not every movie may have a room.
No, of course. I mean, we might have to take one because it's the first film. We might have to take one just, on principle. But as someone who hasn't seen all the films, I can't really say, to be honest.
I get that.
Yeah.
I will probably come back to this probably at movie 8 or 9 to be like, so back to that first movie.
I'd be like, oh, right, that happened.
It doesn't make sense. All right, Paige, before we end this episode off, I know you haven't seen any Friday past the first one, or if you did, you have insomnia.
It's been a long time. If I saw the second one, I honestly don't remember.
Not even sure if that's the right word. So I'm going to give you a nice little synopsis of Friday the 13th,
Of what's to
Part
come?
2.
Fantastic. Lay it on.
Released April 30th of 1981.
Wow, that's so soon after the first one.
It is. It was successful, and they were like, we need money.
Yeah.
Our synopsis is, the second entry in the long-running horror series focuses on a group of teenage would-be counselors converging on Camp Crystal Lake for training under the tutelage of head counselor Paul. Inevitably, Paul relates the story of Jason Voorhees, a boy who drowned at the camp and whose mother murdered a group of counselors in revenge. No one takes the tale seriously until a very much alive Jason gruesomely starts eliminating people.
Okay. It basically sounds like the first film with Jason being the killer.
I mean, we're getting Jason, so
Yeah, that's
stuff's
true.
going to get crazier.
Yeah. All right.
Even though I don't think this is hockey mask Jason, I think this is he has a potato sack on his head Jason.
Okay. Very creative there.
But that's gonna do us for this very first episode of Movie in a Haunt. We hope you had a great time with us. We surely had a great time doing this, and we hope to see you guys in a couple of weeks from now when we go over Friday the 13th Part 2.
Please join us.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Five innocent people killed, not a sign of a